with that, I'd like to kind of highlight and set the scene for why we're here and what we hope to achieve today. So firstly, what is GEODES? Well, GEODES was set up just a few years ago, and in fact, it started under a different name, but it's now under the name GEODES. And basically what we wanted to do and achieve with GEODES was to support and promote and foster diversity and inclusion in the Swiss geoscience community. And at the moment, the committee is made up of about 30 people with 18 active members, committee members, organising events like this one today, this workshop, and also encouraging people around Switzerland to get involved with diversity activities. And we're very open to anyone joining, so if you would like to get involved, please let us know after the workshop today. And the committee was put together for a number of different reasons, but with some of the main goals being to raise awareness for diversity and inclusion in geosciences, to share information and connect groups around Switzerland who are working on these types of issues, to organise events like this workshop, which we've now made an annual feature of the Swiss Geoscience meeting, and to promote connections, and also we hope at some point to collect data and coordinate nationally between our geoscience community. And we have a website set up now, so you can always check that out with the link there. Like I said, if you'd like to get involved, please send us an email, and you can follow us on Twitter at geodes_committee. So what are we doing here today, and why is this important? Well, one of the first challenges that has been identified over the last couple of years by many people, but the first challenge for GEODES to address is gender inequality, both in science and our geoscience community in general. And this graph, I'm sure we will see something similar in a number of the talks today, but it just highlights how we really do have a challenge to overcome here. With in orange here, we can clearly see that the retention of women in geoscience really drops off after that postdoctoral level. And that's so important for us to increase diversity, to increase the ideas and the productivity of science and our community. So the path to GEODES and to increase this diversity in the community started back at the SGM in 2019, where it became kind of clear that there weren't enough women involved in both plenary talks and convening of the sessions. And to start the discussion around this, about 100 people attended an open discussion to talk about strategies or what we could do to improve diversity, especially gender diversity. And there was also a campaign to wear a ribbon or put a logo on posters at that conference. And in tandem with this, WINGS formed. Now, WINGS was the initial name, Women in Geoscience, and this was mainly based around this discussion of gender and diversity in the geoscience community. Now, after this initial discussion was brought up, the SGM and with the SNAT and Platform for Geosciences, there was a revision to the guidelines for the Swiss Geoscience meeting to make it more diverse. And at the same time, the Platform for Geosciences commissioned a report on the gender diversity history at the Swiss Geoscience meetings to try and understand really what we're looking at, what is the data, and what we can do about this in the future. Now, these initial actions in 2019 and early 2020 were all around gender diversity. But as the committee grew and we had a lot more discussions, it became clear that we would like to address more than just gender diversity. And that is why we changed names from WINGS to GEODES, and we formed the GEODES National Committee with a new logo and the hopes in the future of addressing other issues, whether that be around race, whether that be around where people are coming from, their country of origin, around class, around disabilities, or around sexuality. So we hope in the future to have other workshops that are around these other issues of diversity. And after this formation of GEODES at last year's SGM, we held a very successful workshop on gender diversity and equality. We had 130 people attending and fantastic discussion. And we really appreciate, I'm sure we have some of the same people coming back this year, so thanks very much for that. And then following this, we also at that workshop had a presentation on the report of gender diversity at the Swiss Geoscience meeting. And that was fantastic. And that report is now published in the Swiss Journal of Geosciences. Do check it out if you haven't already. And we also, as a committee, came up with our goals for the future. And one of these including launching a website where we could bring together and connect different groups around Switzerland working on these issues. So do check that out as well. And that leads us to today. And now we're taking a step forward from just how do we increase diversity in geosciences, and now into the retention of women in science and academia. And thank you so much for everyone who registered and for everyone who's here today. So we've got about 80 attendees, so that's fantastic. And now we'll get on to a quick look at the schedule. So we have 4 fantastic speakers. Thank you speakers so much for joining us. And we'll start off with a talk from Janet Herring from EVAG, and then we'll go on to Frederick Herman from University of Lausanne. And we'll have a quick break because we all know Zoom fatigue is a real thing. So please remember to step away from the computer and go and have a coffee. Then we'll come back to hear from Heike Meyer from Geography at the University of Bern. And then we have a special recording actually from Julie Posselt, who's in Southern California, but she very kindly sent us through a presentation about her work in this field. So we're looking forward to that as well. And then we'll have a quick surprise talk from Women in Geothermal, which is going to be great because it's always good to connect different groups around Switzerland. That was part of GEODES' goal. So that would be 5 minutes, and then we'll go into our panel discussion with our speakers and conclude with a bit of an outlook for 2022. So that's our schedule. There will be time for short questions after each speaker, but mainly we'll be reserving questions for the discussion. And finally, today, your hosts are Georgina King from University of Lausanne, Chloe Buscare, also from Lausanne, Joanna Marie Cabon from Lausanne, and Daniela Robato and myself from University of Bern. But of course, this wouldn't be possible without our GEODES committee and also support from the local organizing committee in Geneva, Florence Begur, also Francesca and Piccoli and Pierre Desez, who has done so much work to promote this event and help us send out all of the emails that have been coming to our inboxes.